This is going to be part 9 in my series on stock analysis with Python, and you're going to be able to find links for the previous videos in the description, as well as a GitHub link for the code that we're writing. Okay, so this is also going to be the final segment in section 1 where we're looking sort of at a macro level at multiple securities. All right. So in this last video, we're going to take a look at an example of a stock screener. So how would you go about writing that? All right. So I'm going to write a fairly simple one. And what we're going to do is go out, look at the 52-week high, the current price, calculate a ratio, and maybe then start developing a list of securities that we want to take a closer look at. Okay, so for this, I'm going to be using the end of day historical data fundamental feed. All right, and so I'm going to start off by just taking a quick look at what you get when you make a call there. Okay, so I'm going to set up a quick notebook, and we're just going to go ahead and create a client object. Okay, with that done, I'll just set a variable, call it data, and that's eventually going to be a Pandas DataFrame. And I'm going to use the client, and I'm going to call, as I mentioned, fundamental data. Right, so there are a few fundamental feeds. I'm looking at the equities, and I'll just get it for Apple. Okay, so it takes a couple seconds, and we'll take a look at what we get. And we actually get a pretty big data frame. All right, so this is the index over here. All right, and so that's how you're going to kind of filter it, right? So if I want to take a look at, say, balance sheet, I'm going to have to use location there and then take a look at the balance sheet. All right, we can see, yep, lots of not a numbers there. But then, okay, we have financials down here. And on that, we can dig in a bit more. All right, so some of these are kind of a little deeper, the way you have to call them. All right, so once I get in here, I have a dictionary. And then, okay, if I want to use that for something, I'm going to probably have to further process it. Okay, so for our example, what we're going to do is take a look at the technicals on that index. Okay, and I'm actually going to use both the end of day historical data helper library and an endpoint here. All right, they have an endpoint that lets you bulk download with one API call all the closing prices for the most recent day. All right, so I'm going to start by making a couple of variables here. Right, so we'll put highs in a dictionary. All right, and then I will make my call. Okay, so kind of a longish line of code here, right? But I basically need to pass in my API key and then decide if I want the result returned as CSV or JSON. Okay, so next up then we will get our data download. Okay, and then we'll store that in a Pandas DataFrame. Okay, I'm going to reset the index on that data frame. Okay, so what this call does is it goes out and gets all of the closing prices on the U.S. stock exchange. All right, so it doesn't really matter what exchange you trade on, NASDAQ, NYSE, whatever. We get them all. All right, and then it's going to be sort of up to us to kind of filter it down to what are the ones we're interested in. So yeah, maybe you're interested in everything. All right, I am going to limit it a little bit here because when we make the next call, when we go out and get the fundamental data, I have to do it symbol by symbol. And so if you use all of the symbols on the US stock exchange, it's probably going to take a long time. Okay, but the first thing I'm going to need to do is create a client here. Okay, I'll use the end of day historical data, pass in my API key, and then I'll just loop through whatever symbols. And I'll want to handle any errors there. And here I'll start populating that high dictionary. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and try to get whatever the ticker is. We're going to look in that technicals on the index, and in there, we're going to get the 52-week high. All right, and then if that works, we're going to print a little message so we can see something is happening. Okay, and then if it doesn't work, we're going to just kind of skip it. And so we don't really care what the exception is. No matter what, we're just going to skip it, and we're going to say, okay, we'll have to skip this symbol. Okay, so it's not available. We're going to skip it. Okay. All right. So now we've gotten the data, right? So one of them is sitting in a data frame. The other is sitting in a dictionary. And eventually we're going to have to combine these things into a single data frame. All right. I'm going to build a mask that goes out and filters the data list to just the securities we're interested in. Okay, so the ticker comes back as code in the end-of-day historical data. So I'm just going to look and see, okay, is it in our symbols, our passed in symbols? And we'll create a true-false mask for that. And then we will make our data frame. Okay, so we'll get our prices, and I'll take a look at data. And I'm going to get a couple columns there. I want the code. And I want the close. All right. And I want to do that for the mask. Okay. We'll take our high and we'll turn that into a series. Okay. And I'll give the column a name and I'll call it high. Okay. And then I'll merge high into our prices data frame. Okay. And so then we'll just add our ratio column. All right, and then once we're done with all that, we'll return the whole data frame. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and test that out. Let's comment out some of this, and instead we're going to print, well, first let's get some symbols. So I'll get the S&P, and I'll use the getSP function. All right, and I'll just get, like, say, the first 10, so we don't have to sit and wait for all 500 of them. Okay, and then we'll print off our result. Okay, looks like it is actually downloading the fundamentals here. Okay, and there we have it, the first 10 securities from the S&P 500. We have their current close, the 52-week high, and then the ratio of that high to the close. All right, so you can see that, okay, Adobe is almost cut in half here. All right, and there's nothing that's up. Okay, so that's going to do it for part 9. And if you come back for part 10, we're going to start building a class that looks at individual securities and starts analyzing them one by one. So hope to see you there.